come before you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
This morning we're going to talk about faith and fear. Faith and fear. Now, faith and fear, they're not opposites. They're not really even mutually exclusive, but I'd rather talk about faith and fear than faith and doubt. Doubt can be more easily vanquished or put aside or buried or forgotten than fear, because often as we place our faith in something, fear arises with it. Fear of the unknown, fear of what might happen as we place our faith. And when we talk about faith in church, amen, we don't talk about it in church, we talk about it other places. Often faith has for us a connotation with God, but really faith is something we place in a number of things. And maybe even an appropriate day for me to be talking about placing faith. Having been gone a number of weeks, I had to place faith in the staff and the leadership of the church that things would go well when I was gone. I had to place my faith that people were being honest, and they said, sure, go ahead and go for that number of weeks away, and everything will be fine. And then the fear arises along with it. Are they even going to notice I'm gone? Are they going to miss me? You've assured me that you have, so that's lovely, and I appreciate that. But it is something that we confront as we try to place our faith in things. These fears well up. It's almost automatic. And I won't lie. I was only gone for about 10 days before I started to look at the readings for this Sunday, because the preacher inside me was fidgety with the thought that I was going to be gone that long. And I thought, what am I going to do with myself? I thought, well, I'll just start looking at the readings for the Sunday I'm back. Now, that's no assurance that it's any better than any other Sunday. In fact, I spent the first day looking at the readings. I recognized this strong theme of faith, and I spent the first day reading through the lyrics of Faith by George Michael and trying to figure out if I could really pull off that chorus, because I know the best earworm going out the door is always a song and not something I say in a sermon. I could just imagine everybody going, I have faith in faith. Then I read the rest of the words, and I was like, nope. Don't have that much faith. Abram, in this story, has already demonstrated considerable faith in God. Abram, the great ancestor not only of Christendom, but of Judaism and Islam, marks for us what a deep covenant relationship with God looks like. Placing extraordinary faith and trust that God will provide, that God will keep up the commitment made to Abram and his family. And so when this vision happens in this story in Genesis, it's not terribly surprising that Abram, who is still childless through Sarah, and God is continuing to make promises. Abram it doesn't say it in the NRSV, but Abram says, hold up a minute. He says, wait. You've made promises I've yet to see come true. In the back of his mind, he's running through the list of things he's already done to keep up his end of the agreement, right? Then we probably do this too, as we engage in placing our faith in other individuals. We think, well, I already did this, and I did that, and I left the land that I knew, and I took all my stuff, and we went to this new place, and yes, it's actually pretty nice, but I'm no closer to having descendants than I was in that other place, and it's really gotten to be quite complicated, and it's messy. So when Abram starts to have this vision of God and this understanding of a covenant that has already been framed and the foundation of which has already been established, Abram's already taken great steps out in faith. His fear is welling up, and he's saying, but God, I don't see those things that you have promised me yet. I like that in the reading from Hebrews, we see a support to this story in Genesis. The faith is an assurance of things yet unseen. what a great description of what it really means to place faith in something. Assurance. Well, we all just want that assurance, right? Assurance goes a long way to calming those fears that well up as we try to place our faith in things. I think it gets a little heavy-handed when it says that they bear a child through one who was nearly dead. But it does mark the significance of how unexpected God's fulfillment of that promise really was. That child born through Sarah. I can't even imagine being asked to go and count the stars and imagine my descendants numbering like that. Abram leans in. Well, a lot of my last month has been spent around dance. This doesn't surprise you. Many of you know that we went to Seattle so the kids could participate in a dance intensive, 5 weeks at Pacific Northwest Ballet. I'm very proud of them for even getting into that. And I will say, as I continue to contemplate this message of faith and fear, last week was watch week. It was the chance that all the parents could come in and actually sit in on the classes and watch. And so it was our chance to say, okay, we placed our faith or trust that the kids were going to devote themselves to these classes, and now we get to see what really manifests out of that. And so we were excited, and the kids marked which classes they were most interested in us coming and watching. And I should probably confess here that I went to one that, ballet studios are really warm and kind of stuffy, and they play this really melodic music, and I started to nod off in one class. And Emma, in my defense, Emma had said, don't come to this class, it's boring. But she didn't hesitate to point out to me the fact, Dad, I saw you nodding off in that class. So I suppose I have no excuse now. I nod off occasionally in here. But the real thing is that we really were very impressed with all the classes that we saw. But I think there were moments where we were just enchanted with it, and we've seen them do a lot of things in classes, so there were some things that stood out as significantly different. And one of the classes that was really engaging for us to watch was what they call pas de deux, which is the pairing or the partnering classes, where the young ballerinas partner with the young men, and they can dance together. Now, I'm going to go ahead and state the obvious that doesn't always occur to us, that when you put two dancers together, they both have worked diligently, deliberately to establish a foundation as individuals dancing, and they can together accomplish something bigger or different or more significant than they can individually. 1 + 1 is 2. That is going to state the obvious first. But the reality is sometimes we don't realize, obviously if someone lifts somebody else, you can't be lifted on their own. But even when you have feet on the floor, there are turns and leans and things that you can do to accentuate that foundation that was established as an individual that you can't do by yourself. And as we watched these classes, there was no nodding off. It was more to the edge of the seat. And at one point where they were each instructed to lift the young women onto their shoulders, we all got nervous. I had each, I'm including the dancers here. I turned to Sarah and I said, don't you think they should be wearing helmets? My nurse wife said, I was thinking the same thing. We were worried about, everybody. Now, nobody got dropped on their head, so helmets probably were superfluous. But the reality is, it does, when it required a great deal of faith, right? This act of lifting into the air, this act, even when they're not lifting, those leaning out and trusting that the other will support you in a way that will accentuate what you were able to do by yourself, but magnify it into something greater. We saw that, and it's life-giving. There's like a spark of joy in it. I have to say that I think the same thing happens in this story with Abram. I think the same thing happens in the Gospels. I think the same thing happens when we place our faith in community, when we place our faith in the church and we come here expecting that the sacraments will breathe new life into our faith. We lean in a bit and let God work within those things, and something happens. Hard to put our finger on it. When we invest ourselves in reading the Scriptures, trusting that there is something there that is life-giving, and lean on them in a bit in a way that we can't, maybe when we're just by ourselves, maybe we gather together and we open our understanding to them, and God's Spirit is set free from them and opens to us new ways of understanding the world around us. We've leaned in a little bit. And I wonder where God is calling each of us to lean in a little bit more. To trust. We've got a great foundation. We've got a great foundation in our community of faith and in one another. We've got a great foundation in our Scriptures. A wonderful foundation of faith in the sacraments that we receive. We have a great foundation to build upon. But if we're not willing to lean out and trust that God will magnify that which we offer, we're not willing to trust that God will work through it and that we might accomplish more than we ever could if we don't trust enough to lean in and place our faith entirely in God, then we're playing it safe and sticking with what we know we can accomplish. So my hope for us, when we talk about faith and fear, it's okay to have that fear. But I hope that the faith wins out. I hope that we place our faith in God and in one another in ways that allows us to lean into ministry and our expression of God's love and compassion for others, that we might try to do things that we know we can't do on our own, and trust that God, working through us, will allow it to happen anyway. As we gather, we are a people of faith. The fears may reside within us, but we hope that our faith in Jesus is much bigger. God is an excellent answer prayer. We've got no reason not to trust the faith we place in God. Amen.